Hiya folks, how are we going today? I wanted to let you know first off the bat that today's episode is not going to be as family friendly as most of my other episodes are. This is because I am talking about a game that has a lot of graphic features. I will though try to keep things pretty low key. Today we are talking about a game about a counterculture, punks. In this game, you play as teens going up against oppressive forces. This is Misspent Youth by Robert Ball. This is a game without a defined setting. Rather, as a part of the game creation process, the game master creates an authority who the players, called youthful offenders, will be going up against. The authority can take many shapes and appearances, with a pretty solid guideline on creating one. The players will be teenage punks in this dystopia working against this power. I have mixed feelings about the game master being in an explicitly adversarial role against the players. Generally, I think of the role of a game master as a collaborative one working with the players to create a story. That's still possible in this game, but I think it has to be thought of more carefully. You'd have to work to maintain that collaborative spirit in general. A session of this game is divided into 7 scenes, which follow the action of the session. The authority has impacted the freedoms and the lives of the youthful offenders somehow. How do they plan to fight back? How does the action develop and heat up? And who at the end of the day stands victorious? This game is played with 2d6s and the numbers 2 to 12 written on a piece of card. As the scene progresses, the authority and the youthful offenders will claim different numbers on this card. For any players to perform an action, they roll their dice. If the number space they land on is claimed by the youthful offenders, they are successful. However, if they happen to roll a space that is claimed by the authority wins. If they roll a number that is a blank space, they re-roll. As I understand it, it's 1 roll per scene to perform an action. I am kind of lukewarm on how this system works. The way it's explained in the book is a little bit confusing and I really struggled to get my head around it. I'm not even sure as I'm recording it if I'm portraying it faithfully. There also isn't any mechanic to ensure that everyone gets a role in the game. You as the game master and the players just have to manage that yourselves. In all honesty, the mechanics for this game haven't clicked for me, and that's pretty rare. I'm usually pretty good at reading and understanding the rules first off. A mechanic I am really inspired by is one for the youthful offenders. During character creation, they pick a trait for their character. Doing so causes the youthful offender to sell out. For example, being resourceful becomes doing whatever it takes to achieve your goals. What this means is at the end of the campaign, even if the players defeat the authority, it might not be a happy ending for every single player character. A youthful offender who has sold out has lost their idealism and perhaps is a bit more ragged and jaded. I have really mixed feelings about the design of this book. The pages kind of look like collages with different photos and illustrations and text boxes and textures to create an interesting visual effect. Sadly, I actually prefer the cover art and I wish that the interior of the book matched the exterior. I think the cover just conveys what the game is about much more than the interior. I also really struggled with how the text was laid out in this game. I'm not sure if it's the font or the way the boxes were arranged as some information was across 2 pages, but I found my eyes just slid off the page while reading this. Even with my glasses on, I struggled to absorb the information. There's also a lot of swearing in the game text of this book, and I frankly don't think it's earned quite often. The game does run over some safety mechanics and some examples of how to play. I was, however, deeply troubled by one of the examples they provided. When getting into character, players are asked to ask a question to each other in character. A suggested question was, why didn't you tell your brother that we all slept together? From context, this meant, having sex with each other. In this game, it is explicitly written that you are playing people from roughly the age of 13 to 16. While we should absolutely acknowledge that teenagers and young people do engage in sexual activities with each other, I don't think it's a great example to put in a tabletop role-playing game book. And frankly, as an adult, it gives me a huge ick feeling to be role-playing teenagers having sex. Of course, I am not an authority on this subject, and what everyone does within their role-playing group is unique to them. My criticism is I don't think this example is a great one to put in your game book explaining the mechanics of your game. I paid around $22 plus shipping for this book in Australian. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I did at the time contemplate getting the expansion when I purchased the base book, but I think I'm happy just to have the base one for now. Honestly, I'm a bit lost about this game. I should like it. It's got a lot of themes that I find interesting and stand out from other games on the market and that personally appeal to me. And while I find the majority of the mechanics confusing, there are moments where I find them really interesting and engaging. Yet for some reason, I just struggled to read or connect with this game in any way. I'm honestly not sure who this game is for, really. The mechanics and the structure of this game are a bit too complicated for a roleplay focused group, but there isn't enough dice rolls or crunch to appeal to a more tactical-minded gaming group. But with the amount of explicit content and swearing, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as a game for teenagers. And I'm not certain about the number of adults out there who like or want to roleplay as teenagers. So I had really complicated thoughts about Misspent Youth. If you perhaps have an idea of who this game is for, or if I've just misunderstood the game, please tell me down in the comments down below. I'm really keen to hear what people think. I know the creator of this game retired from making tabletop role-playing games, but I'm not quite sure what else they've created. So perhaps let me know down below. Perhaps it will tell me a bit more about what the flavor of this game is intended to be. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to like, subscribe, maybe share with a friend. It all just encourages me to keep going. I hope you're all well, and I will see you next time at the gaming table. Bye! I'm just going to talk to you guys for a second. I'm sorry if I seem a little bit low energy. The day before recording this, I had to take one of my beloved pet rats to the vet to be put down. She had been struggling with a collapsed lung, which we had medicines for, and we'd been doing everything we could to give her a good life, but she just stopped thriving and she was losing weight. I would see her gasping for air and she wasn't happy. I still have plenty of pet rats and my pet cat, but pets are really special. I hope you treasure them. I hope if you have a pet, you treasure them as well. I'll miss you, Rosie. Thank you for being an excellent friend.